I'd like to call this meeting to order at 2:03 p.m. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kaplan?
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Here.
Vice Mayor Talamontes?
Here.
Councilmember Pluckybaum?
Here.
Councilmember Maple?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra? Councilmember Jennings?
Here.
Councilmember Vang?
Here.
Mayor McCarty? Vice Mayor, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. Councilmember Dickinson, will you please lead us in land acknowledgement and pledge of allegiance?
Please rise if you would and are able. This is the opening acknowledgement in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, the Valley and Plains Miwok, the Patton Winton peoples, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, contributions, and lives. Thank you. And now if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunday. Okay, moving along. We had no closed session, so there is no closed session report for the city attorney's office. And consent calendar. Do we have members of the dais that would like to speak on any item? Councilmember Kaplan, what item?
Comment on item 2 and a question on item 9.
9. Anyone else? Seeing none. Councilmember Kaplan.
I am really excited on the consent item. It's establishing the capital improvement project and putting money aside for the Shore Vista Way overcrossing traffic signal. It might not seem like a lot, but if you've ever been in my district, the North Lake area is isolated and the only exit is really Elkhorn. This is the start of building the bridge within the community to connect it from over 99 from community to community. So I'm really excited to see that this is one step closer, and I really want to thank staff for going above and beyond on this project, for putting in the capital improvement project. And then on item 9, do we have somebody who can come on up and answer a question for me? This is a grant agreement for the State Homeland Security Grant Program, Importance of Connectivity. Thanks, Captain, for coming up. I just want to clarify and make sure, while this is a minor grant and it's to help with drones, that it does say Homeland Security, that none of the information gathered will be shared with ICE. Okay, so nothing shared, data is secure, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, there's no requirements within the grant application that requires that.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear and on the record. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor, I'll move the consent.
Second.
There's a second with Councilmember Dickinson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Noes, abstentions, 1 abstention. Mayor. Okay. Moving along to public hearings. Item number 14, the enclave at Airport Road in my district.
All right. Good afternoon to the Vice Mayor and fellow members.
Hold on. I'm
of
so
the City
sorry, I
Council.
forgot. Was there any public comment on the consent calendar? Okay, none. Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, Vice Mayor and fellow members of the City Council. My name is Zach Dalla, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. The item before you is the Enclave at Airport Road project, which is to construct 32 detached single-unit dwellings on a 2-acre site northeast of the intersection of Airport Road and Tanzanite Avenue in North Natomas. To facilitate the development, the project requests the approval of a development agreement, a rezone of the site from R1A to R1A PUD zone, a PUD schematic plan and guidelines amendment to add the project to the Natomas Crossing Area 2 PUD, and to establish development standards specific to the development. a tentative map to subdivide the site into 32 lots and 8 common lots, and site plan design review for the construction of the development. As outlined in the staff report, staff finds the proposed project integrates well with the surrounding environment, is appropriately scaled in height and massing, and provides quality architectural design compatible with the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The Planning and Design Commission heard the project at the January 22nd, 2026 meeting and forwards a unanimous recommendation of approval, consistent with staff's recommendation. This concludes my presentation. Staff's happy to answer any questions, and the applicant team is here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to move to open the public hearing. Do I need a second for that? No? Second. Okay, second for that. And then public comment on this item?
No public comments for this.
No public comments on this? Okay. Well, as a council member representing this district, I'm supportive of the project. We need more infill development and excited to have the land be utilized and not just have it be empty. So thank you so much for working with me and the community and making sure that everyone felt heard, and happy to close the public hearing and move this item. Okay. And then we'll do a roll call vote for this one, since it's a planning project.
Councilmember Kaplan?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Talamontes?
Aye.
Councilmember Pluckybaum? Councilmember Maple?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
Mayor McCarty is absent, so the public hearing passes with all yeses except for the one absence.
Okay. And moving along to item 15, Delta Shores Finance Plan Development Impact Fee Update. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Good afternoon, Vice Mayor Talamontes and members of council. This item before you is to open the public hearing for the Delta Shores Finance Plan and Developmental Impact Fee Update. My name is Jessica Steinhauer. I'm with the Finance Department. In 2019, council approved the current Delta Shores Finance Plan and established an associated Delta Shores impact fee. The finance plan is required to be updated periodically as more recent costs, funding, and land use data becomes available. The current update reflects revised land use assumptions, additional fee-funded infrastructure, and updated costs compared to the existing finance plan. These revisions result in an overall fee increase across the residential land uses that will be subject to the Delta Shores impact fee. In addition, a sub-area in Delta Shores that was previously referred to as Stone Boswell in the finance plan and city code is now referred to as Stone Beatland. Therefore, the city code should be updated to reflect this change and stay consistent with the updated finance plan. No other changes to city code are being made. Staff's recommendation is to open the public hearing and upon conclusion, pass the motion and adopt the resolution and ordinance included with this item. City staff and our consultant, EPS, are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Clerk, is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, moving on, Councilmember Vang.
I'd like to close this item and move the item for a vote, and I support the project.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Councilmember Dickinson.
Thank you. I just had one question, and in the body of the report, and just looking for the reference now, it says that certain items will not be included in the Delta Shores infrastructure plan, but will be the obligation of the developer of Stone Beatland. And I just wanted to confirm that there is a funding mechanism for those improvements as well.
There is.
Is there a separate fund then or Belarus district that covers that?
There's two sub-areas, the Delta Shore sub-area and the Stone Beatland sub-area impact fee.
So there's a separate account for those things that are being not covered by the Delta Shores infrastructure.
Eric Frederick defines, there could be. They could establish a Belarus CFD, they could use developer equity, but it's just not included in the fee program.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite.
I said they could use a Melrose CFD to finance those improvements. They could use developer equity. It's just not included in the impact fee program.
But they are obligated otherwise to
Correct.
cover those, whatever vehicle they choose, but that vehicle doesn't yet exist, it sounds like.
Well, if developer equity is used, then it could exist currently, yes. But yeah, it's not, they don't have a CFD out there at this time, but it just is not included in the fee program.
Okay, okay.
And Eric, will you introduce yourself that way, just in case people?
Eric Frederick with Finance as well. Thank you.
Okay, like you have a nice title, so, okay.
Okay,
Councilmember Dickinson?
thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Noes? And one absent.
Motion passes, or I'm sorry, the public hearing passes with just one absence, Mayor McCarty.
Okay, moving along to the SHRA item number 16, 2027 Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment One-Year Action Plan Federal Programs Allocation Process Workshop. Welcome.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Greed. I'm the Federal Programs Manager at SHRA. Today's presentation is the first workshop for the City of Sacramento's 2027 Annual Action Plan for their federal entitlement grant programs administered on their behalf by the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, or SHRA. The purpose of today's workshop will be to provide information on the federal programs and their requirements, and to provide an opportunity for project ideas and feedback. I'll start by providing an overview of the grants and their objectives. I'll share some estimated funding amounts for 2027, the anticipated allocations by program, examples of past projects we've approved, and then lastly, we'll discuss the process and the schedule moving forward. So as a high-level overview, SHRA has been delegated authority by the City Council to administer the formula program grants received from HUD on their behalf. These grants include Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Home Investment Partnership Program, or HOME, Emergency Solutions Block Grant, or ESG, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, or HOPWA. CDBG can be used for a wide range of activities, which I'll touch on a bit later. Home is used to create, rehabilitate, or maintain affordable housing for low-income families. ESG can be used for street outreach, emergency shelter, rapid rehousing, or homelessness prevention. HOPWA is used for housing and supportive services that benefit low-income persons living with HIV or AIDS and their families. And these are all entitlement grants, meaning that HUD uses a formula to determine how much the city will get each year for each each jurisdiction gets, so how much the city will get each year. And as part of accepting these grants, there are certain actions that HUD will require us to take. So first, HUD will require us to complete a 5-year consolidated plan, which involves extensive community engagement and results in a strategy to meet community needs. So the current consolidated plan covers the years 2025 through 2029. And in addition to the consolidated plan, HUD requires that we prepare an annual action plan. So this action plan identifies the specific activities and projects that will be undertaken each year to meet the objectives identified in the consolidated plan. The consolidated plan identifies objectives for the best use of the grant funds, and the activities that we fund in the action plan need to align with those objectives. So this slide shows the objectives developed during that last consolidated planning process. And overall, these objectives help to create ladders of opportunity for our low and moderate income residents through the following avenues: affordable housing, public facilities and infrastructure improvements, as well as public services and fair housing. For Community Development Block Grant, in addition to meeting consolidated plan objectives, we also need to make sure that the projects we fund also meet a HUD national objective. The vast majority of CDBG expenditures meet a national objective of being an activity that benefits low to moderate income persons, which is generally accomplished 3 ways. First, it could be an activity that benefits all residents in a low to moderate income area. So this means it needs to be in a location that's primarily residential, and at least 51% of the residents in that area need to be low to moderate income. So this, for an example, would be a infrastructure project, like a park project in a low to moderate income area. Secondly, we could provide funding to low to moderate income clientele, which would be individuals or households at or below 80% area median income. So this, for example, would be homeless shelters or Meals on Wheels. And lastly, low to moderate income housing would be another national objective. So this would be a project that helps provide housing to low to moderate income households at or below 80% AMI. So this is usually provided in the form of gap financing for affordable housing rehab projects. And finally, in addition to meeting a con plan objective and a national objective, CDBG projects must be an eligible activity. So this is where we get to what projects are eligible for CDBG. So the broad categories of major eligible activities include public facilities and infrastructure. So these could be your community centers, playgrounds, ADA curb ramps, pedestrian improvements, streetlights, community gardens, those sort of things. Public services, so this could be Meals on Wheels, shelter operations, public services at housing developments, acquisition, so this could be acquisition of a property for a public facility or housing, clearance and remediation, this could be for an affordable housing site that may have some toxic remediation that needs to be cleaned up, home ownership assistance, and planning administration or staff costs, and environmental studies. I also want to highlight some major ineligible activities. So this is general government buildings and expenses. So for example, we can't pay to renovate City Hall. Operating and maintenance expenses, purchase of equipment and furnishings, new housing construction, so we can do rehab, but we can't do new construction. Political and religious activities, regional parks and facilities. So this is regional being the key word here. We can do parks and facilities, but they need to be more at a local impact, not regional. And supplanting of funds is on there as well. That's not really a activity, but I did want to mention it. You can't substitute available funding for CDBG to free up for another use. And then before I move on to the next few slides, I also want to note there are some other things we have to take into consideration when evaluating projects to include in the action plan. And one of the more important factors here is project readiness. We have an obligation for HUD to spend down funds in a timely manner, meaning we need to see projects spend funds usually within 12 to 18 months. So we need to have projects that are ready to go and ready to spend those funds down. So this slide shows the estimated 2027 funding entitlements for the city. We typically receive our final approved amount from HUD in the spring or summer of each year. So for planning purposes, we base this estimate on our most recently approved entitlement amount. Just recently, they did finally approve the 2026 HUD budget, and thankfully, all of the grants were fully funded at the full HUD the full budget. So we are hopeful that 2027 will also remain at the steady level. So for 2027, we're estimating we will get $4.6 million in CDBG, about $2.1 million in home, $400,000 for ESG, $2.1 million for HOPWA, so overall about $9.2 million for these programs. For CDBG, the annual entitlement is divided up among several categories that align with our con plan objectives. And for estimating purposes, we allocate the maximum allowable for both public services and admin, and then work backwards from there to determine how much is available for the other categories. So we're allowed to allocate a maximum of 15% to public services, so this will be about $690,000. And for the past 2 years, we've included public services at Capitol Park Hotel and Meals on Wheels, so that's what we've been allocating that towards. A maximum of 20% to planning and admin, so this is $920,000, and this is used to pay staffing and admin fees as well as planning activities, and also for fair housing, which is our renters helpline and Project Sentinel. $1.2 million will be required this year for our HUD loan repayment, so that's our repayment of the Section 108 loan for Marisol Village. And then that leaves $1 million for infrastructure and public facility improvements, and about $690,000 for housing development, which again goes towards multifamily rehab and also our homeowner repair programs. The last category is capital reserve, and this is a contingency bucket for which we've reserved $100,000. So this is just an example of some types of infrastructure projects we've funded in the past with CDBG. Over the past 5 years, it's organized here by district. I won't read through each individual project, but as you can see, this represents quite a breadth of investments in projects and the types of projects that we typically fund. You'll also see here some districts have more projects than others. This is generally because projects must be located, again, in an eligible low mod area, and some districts have larger eligible areas than others. This first slide shows districts 1 through 3. These districts, we funded several park improvement projects as well as some street and safety improvements. This next slide is districts 4 and 5, which includes ADA restrooms, street improvements, a light study, site remediation, park improvements, walkways, and some other projects as well. And in this one, you can see there are some projects that span multiple districts. For example, on this slide, there's Broadway Complete Streets in both districts 4 and 7. And then this slide is District 6 through 8, which includes street and park improvements, including a park restroom and fitness equipment. And I don't have a total number on this slide, but this represents over $10 million in CDBG investment towards infrastructure improvements over the last 5 years. So this final slide outlines our process moving forward to identify projects for the action plan. We've already initiated the process with city staff to start thinking about the projects. This is our first workshop at City Council, and then through May, we'll continue to meet with city staff to identify projects and review them for eligibility. In June, we head back to City Council with a draft list of projects to present at the second workshop. And then in June through August, we'll continue to meet with city staff as needed to finalize these projects. And the action plan budget needs to be completed in August so we are requesting that any final project ideas be submitted by the end of July. The final action plan will be presented at City Council in October, and then we submit our final action plan to HUD after it's approved. This concludes my presentation. Once again, we welcome any input you have for action plan project ideas either now or you can reach out to us anytime. Thank you for your time, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you so much. Do we have a public comment on this item?
No public comment on this item.
Okay. First up, we have Councilmember Dickinson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have questions in a couple areas. One, first of all, with respect to the ESG funds, which are rather small in comparison to the need, certainly. Can you describe what is being done using that money for prevention purposes? And what I mean by that is preventing people from becoming homeless. So I'm not talking about rapid rehousing or the other elements, but can you go into depth a little bit more on that?
So ESG, we actually are allocating all of it right now in the city to the rapid rehousing component. So we can allocate up to, I think it's 60% for rapid rehouse, or 60% for shelters, the rest for rapid rehousing. But since we're not allocating any to shelters at this time, it is currently all going to the rapid rehousing component. So no additional towards prevention besides rapid rehousing.
So is it correct to say now that SHRA is not dedicating any money to rental assistance or other prevention activities, or are there other sources that the agency is putting into those kinds of activities?
So I think as part of the rapid rehousing program, there are some prevention activities that are part of that. I would have to get more details from you from that scope of work. And I can provide that information. We are going to be doing a new RFP this year for our rapid rehousing component, so we can potentially include some more prevention requirements as part of that scope, if that's something that you're interested in.
So as you go through developing the plan, as you outlined your schedule, I, as one member of the council, would be interested in seeing more emphasis on the prevention side, on helping people stay in housing they're in rather than ending up in the street, and even for a minimal period of time, and becoming candidates for there's nothing wrong with rapid rehousing, but if we can keep people from being in that position in the first place, it seems to me that would be important to do. So maybe as you go through the plan development, you can dig into that a little bit and can consider that aspect. I certainly would appreciate that. I'd also appreciate, as you go through the planning, what what the ESG program in particular augments or supplements, or what else it's connected to? Are there other sources of funding, for example, for what ESG is going to that make a bigger whole than just the 400,000? Yep. The other thing I wanted to ask about, and give me a minute, it goes to your, if I get this thing to move. Schedule that you laid out, one of your slide on hang on.
Oh, and
Process. It goes to the slide. I thought it was in a slide. There it is. Okay, CDBG activity, and it shows 920,000 going to planning and administration. Mm-hmm. My first question is, does the planning element on that line item correlate to the planning activities that you showed in the chart for CDBG, where you said some projects were paid for, just the planning was paid for? Or is this a different planning that's going on?
That's a great question. Yes, so if CDBG, if we get a request to use CDBG just for a planning activity and it will not result in an actual infrastructure project, then yes, it has to go under that planning and admin category. If we can guarantee that it will result in an actual project, then we can put it under the infrastructure category, but we have to be able to guarantee that it actually will result in a project, because we have to have that end result in order to categorize it as that.
So then on your chart where you showed the CDBG projects, if it said planning only, that came from that line item?
Yes, so we don't generally anticipate many planning only projects for CDBG, because we don't generally get too many requests, but that doesn't mean that we wouldn't entertain, a request for a planning only activity.
And, yes.
I'm not on, Councilmember Dickinson. That's just the maximum we can spend in that category at this point. As the plan evolves, we'll see if we get any planning activities, standing alone activities that need to be in that category. We'll bring it forward to you. But right now, for planning purposes, we just do the maximum.
Okay, so I'm looking back now at the chart. So for as an example, in 2022, it says Woodlake Park design. Would that, at that time, have come from this line item of planning? Or is planning something?
So sometimes if we know a project is going to go after design and engineering, and then we'll later come back and also want funding to actually implement the construction of the project, we may not fund the entire design, engineering, and construction all at once, because again, we want to spend down these funds quickly, so we don't want to set aside all that money at one time. But we know that it will eventually result in an actual project. So in that case, we would fund it under the infrastructure and public facilities improvement category, because we know they will come back at a later time and either finish the project or request CDBG to do the actual construction. So it is actually likely that for the design and engineering component, we funded that under infrastructure and public facilities. There's very few that I think we've actually funded under the planning. I think there was like a lighting study that we maybe did. Usually there are studies that we'll fund under the planning activity.
So what is the split on that line item between planning and administration? How much goes to planning and how much goes to administration?
It really just depends. So the planning, again, we categorize it as planning and admin because it's sort of a catch-all. If somebody does come to us and wants to do a planning or a study activity, it will go under that category. Most of that's admin. We do have, if we have a consultant, that we want to use for something, we'll have them under that category. But I would say most of that is administration.
And fair housing.
And fair housing, the fair housing component,
That's a big
yes.
chunk of the money.
Yeah.
So as you, again, go through your process and come back, can you subdivide this money so we know?
Yes, absolutely.
I think, well, again, I won't speak for anyone else, only myself. I would hope that we would minimize, to the extent possible, the money going to administration and maximize the money that's going into projects, planning and construction of projects. So it would be helpful to know what that subdivision is of that line item. And I hope as you go through the process, again, that you'll bear that in mind, that what we want to do is deliver projects. We don't get much CDBG, frankly.
Right.
We're getting the city's getting the same amount of CDBG as it was 20 years ago, which means it's getting a lot less due to inflation. So literally every dollar of this money is precious. And my interest is seeing as much as possible get into things that improve and help communities and neighborhoods. So that's one area that caught my eye. And so I'll look for more information on that as you go through your process and come back to us. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo ditto on what Councilmember Dickinson said. Especially, I think we need to really start looking into more of investing in helping people stay in their housing. We know and studies show that it costs significantly more when they're on the streets. So I think we have to do a balance and not having any money going into keeping people into housing. As we saw the benefit during COVID and the pandemic, I think we're missing opportunities. So what that could potentially look like would be good to see, as well as the breakdown on the administration. And then I just want to echo my strong support for CDBG funds that are going to Robla Community Park, the planning stage, and then now funding the construction of the restrooms that community park has been waiting almost 20 years for. Thank you. I've been asking that since the beginning. So, persistence and consistency matters, and it's good to see that on it, and I'm supportive of that. So thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. When I first got here to the dais, I drove around my district and wrote down all the projects that I think could potentially be CDBG funding. And I know I submitted a list of like 18 items, and you went through and you said, yes, this is eligible, no, this is not eligible, and you went through and you really helped me narrow it down to see what could be funded. So I just want to thank you for your work on that. And I just want to thank you for your work on this and being fair to all of us. Looking at all the districts and looking at the need, and using our funding through an equity lens is so important. And I just want to thank you for being fair and for considering all our requests, going through and seeing what the need is, and really delivering with dollars. So thank you for your work.
Councilmember Guerra.
Thank you again. One point I want to thank staff for looking at was particularly how, to the concern that Councilmember Dickinson brought up, is how do we maximize more over administration? And I brought up the issue of bathrooms and how we can do that, and I'm glad that we're doing a good chunk of those. Earl Warren Park as well. I mean, that one has been in its condition since it was built in the 50s, and so I think the upgrade on that is critical. Also want to thank for putting in there Danny Nunn Park. For folks that remember Glen Elders and the Glen Elders community, it was built at a time when redlining was a significant issue. And so that community has had a lack of investment for many decades, until I think Councilmember McCarty at that time helped secure some funding for the Georgetown Community Center in that area. And now I think with the improvements to Danny Nunn Park for the seniors, I think that's going to be important upgrades there. I wanted to clarify also here on the HOPWA funds. Is the Sunburst project eligible for that funding there to support individuals who have HIV and AIDS?
Yes, and we do fund the Sunburst project.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then finally, on the other question I had was on the the renters helpline. Where are we in funding in the capacity level? We had, there was a time when it was part of self-help housing that obviously fell through. We funded self-help housing, but after their dissolution, then SHRA took it over, and I think we've been trying to expand that and make it more robust. What's the status of the renters help?
So,
helpline?
yeah. So 211 took that over. So 211 is managing the renters helpline now. And as far as they submit regular quarterly reports, and they've been doing, as far as I can tell, a wonderful job. They've been really eager to take that project on, and they seem to be really involved in the process. They're eager to report out on their goals and their accomplishments, and they're always providing information on additional ways that they can improve the work that they do. So it seems to be going really well.
In this funding allocation, or are there funds or eligible funds that we could move to support that even more so? Because some of the challenges that we've had is to prevent people from falling into eviction or getting an unlawful detainer, or just knowing their own rights. If we're trying to prevent homelessness, educating folks and getting them to resolve problems sooner will help us and address some of those challenges. Are there funds, additional funds that can be moved to say maybe make that more robust so that we can support that effort countywide?
So we do fund it. It is funded under our grant planning and admin. So we would have to see what we would move around to fund that.
So for a future follow-up, what I'd like to maybe understand is what's the demand and what's the capacity, and if there is an ability to do that. And I've spoken to a number of obviously we have the nonprofit affordable housing folks, and also on the market rate apartment and multifamily housing folks who want to make sure that they're all working to increase education so that we can avoid any disruption when renters are falling into situations.
And my understanding is the demand has been increasing. They have been getting more calls. And if you are interested, we do, like I said, we do get quarterly reports from them. So if you are interested in seeing those, we could connect you with them, and we could
You could send them to me. That would be fine. And I appreciate that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. And those are just my comments for now. I appreciate the work that's been done so far with the dollars that we have.
Okay, thank you. This was not a voting item. Receive, file, and provide direction. Ask questions, which we did. Thank you for your presentation. Next item.
We have item 17, the early budget work session and budget context and balancing scenarios.
So. All right. Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Oh, sorry.
Let me get started. Thank you for, so I just want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to first begin by acknowledging our staff, the finance team, budget team, department directors, and all the staff who had a hand in today's curating this budget presentation and the presentations moving forward. So typically, these discussions would not be brought to you until May. But it's my purpose and my plan to make certain that we begin these discussions early so we can have some meaningful and strategic conversations around the budget. I want to be able to align this budget with your priorities, incorporate your feedback, and also include the public's feedback as well as I begin to curate a proposed balanced budget for you. Today's discussion is only around the current state, and it's to provide an overview and some direction to staff as we start to develop some reductions. So again, these next few weeks are designed to be workshop driven. This is not the city manager's proposed budget. So I want to say that again, it is not the city manager's proposed budget. This is your biggest priority, and it is important that each of you provide some feedback to me so I can move forward in the direction you would like to see the city go under the circumstances that we are in. There are going to be some trade-offs. We all know that. Some of the trade-offs will be difficult, but with your guidance and your direction, we're hoping that I'm able to present you something that not only you, but the residents and the community can be able to agree with as we work ourselves out of this budget deficit. So Pete, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, City Manager, and good afternoon, Mayor, council members, members of the public. I'm Pete Coletto, the city's finance director. Joining me at the podium is Murthala Santizo, the city's budget manager. And as the city manager mentioned, we are doing things a little bit differently this year. And so throughout the month of March, we're having these early budget work sessions. Again, just echoing the city manager's comments, these aren't decisions. These are to begin a robust conversation so that council can have a very focused budget hearings in May and then ultimately adopt a balanced budget. We heard from council, while you love the departmental presentations the last couple of years, this year we want them to be much more budget focused and much more focused on the impacts of budget balancing strategies. So before you is the schedule for the early budget work sessions. Again, today we're just looking at the context of our current budget. We're going to look at some alternative scenarios, but we're not really going to be discussing any budget balancing strategies in the presentation today. Next week, we will outline the overview, what I would call the baseline budget balancing, and then you'll hear from each of the departments on what the impacts would be to their operations of the strategies contained in the baseline. So again, just to set some general context, our current year budget is $1.7 billion for all funds. It supports just under 5,000 full-time equivalent positions. We closed a $62 million funding gap to balance this year's budget. The city's general fund is just over $872 million. Again, this is where council has the most discretion. So not total discretion in the general fund, but is the most discretionary fund. And the city has over 300 active funds. How is our budget structured? Well, first it's structured by fund. As I mentioned, that different funds have different restrictions on them. Within the funds, there are departments. Within the departments, there are spending categories. These are things like salary and benefits, services and supplies, property, things like that. And then under that is the account level. So office supplies, pension payments, salary payments, things like that. We kind of group our funds into these broad categories. So, the general fund is general government operations. This is the $872.5 million. Enterprise funds are, they operate like businesses. So when you park in a parking garage, you are paying into the parking fund, and that fund can only be used for parking operations. The same with water, solid waste, storm drainage, et cetera. Internal service funds are funds where we bill city departments for services rendered. So these are things like fleet and risk management. And then the other restricted funds generally have a specific revenue stream. So like development fee funds, the library parcel tax, which voters approved last year, or the children's fund, things like that. And speaking of the Children's Fund, I promised a Children's Fund update. We've had some discussion since our mid-year financial update with those lower cannabis tax revenues. Hey, what is the Children's Fund looking like? Are we going to be able to meet our obligations from that first round of funding that council approved? As I alluded to last week, that answer is yes. But here are the numbers behind it. Really, we had collected over a year's worth of tax receipts before council even made that first round. It was 2 years, before council made that first round of allocations. And even with the lower projected revenues, we are projecting to be well in excess of our needs for the first round of allocations. We've had some discussion at council around, do we want to put some policies in place? Because it's really, this is a somewhat volatile revenue source, and it really hurts our community-based organizations if kind of midway through a program we have to cut their funding. And so, our recommendation is that when we're preparing to come back with round two, that prior to council allocating those funds, we bring forward some options for council to consider. And these could be things like a minimum fund balance or only allocating out a certain percentage of projected revenues just to give some buffer in case of volatility. When we look at how our $1.7 billion, how is that broken down by fund, you can see, the general fund is the largest. The enterprise funds are significant, and some of our bigger departments, like the Department of Utilities, they live entirely in the enterprise funds. They're not in the general fund. So what we've been discussing this year as we began the budget process are our fiscal challenges. So the most immediate one is we need to balance a budget year. That's a charter mandate. In the near term, we're in what we call a structural deficit. We've been talking about this over the past couple of years, where there's a fundamental imbalance with our expenses growing faster than our revenues. And so we need to ultimately solve that in an environment where we have risks to our federal funding and the economy. And over the long term, we have significant unfunded pension liabilities and capital needs. So this is, again, a reminder. This is the mid-year financial forecast of our structural deficit. As I always say when I put up this chart, we are not going to be in a $102 million deficit in fiscal year 30, because between now and fiscal year 30, Council is going to take actions with ongoing balancing strategies that will improve the out years of this forecast. And again, this incorporates what we had on the table with some of our labor unions who we're in negotiations with at mid-year. So there's some risk around what finalizing agreements would be, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. One of the questions we get a lot is, well, how do we have a deficit if we're not in a recession? And there are a lot of causes to why we find ourselves in the situation that we're in. And again, we're not alone. This is something we see up and down the state with our peer cities. And some of the causes are very similar. We have new spending commitments, and these are really in reaction to community needs and demands. The biggest is homelessness, which we'll talk more about in a minute, but also the voters approved the Children's Fund, which moves monies from the general fund to the Children's Fund. There are also things that we can't control, these bigger macroeconomic factors. The biggest one is inflation, and we've been talking about that over the past couple of years. Not only does that cause all of our costs to increase, but we see what it does to sales tax, which is one of our major revenue sources. It tends to flatten out sales tax as people tighten their belts to deal with inflation, and we're really experiencing that. And then we have other costs, right? So our labor increases, they're related to inflation. Our employees are experiencing inflation, our retirement liabilities. And another big one is the reduction in our state funding for homelessness through the HAP program. We've seen that go down, and we'll show that in a second. So the short answer, I gave you guys the long answer. The short answer is we're doing more things, and everything we're doing is more expensive, and our revenues aren't keeping up. This slide is really showing the changing in the structure of our homelessness services funding. These are our sheltering programs. And if we go back in the time machine to fiscal year 23-24, we were only putting in $12.5 million of general fund. That blue box is state HAP funding, and that gray box, the other funding, is other things like whole person care, ARPA savings, and things like that. But we come back into fiscal year 25-26, you can see we had that big reduction in our HAP funding. In fiscal year 26-27, there's uncertainty on when we'll receive HAP funding and how much we might receive. So we didn't include that in the forecast. We'll have more updates for that later about that as we learn more throughout the budget process. But you can really see how our general fund commitments have grown over the past 3 years. And I'll pass it off to Murthala to talk about this year's budget.
Okay, thank you, Pete. So for the next several slides, we will just be going over the breakdown of fiscal years 26 budget and revenues. This chart here shows us the fiscal year 26 approved budget and the breakdown of the general fund departments. It should not be a surprise that our public safety departments, fire and police, have the two largest appropriations. What you don't see here is our two other larger departments, public works and utilities, and that is because they rely mostly on other funds. While we do see public works has a small amount, you can also see that utilities doesn't have any general fund appropriations. But this is our breakdown for all the different departments. This next chart shows the breakdown by spending categories. So since many city services rely on people providing a direct service to the public, our biggest category is salaries and benefits. It takes up about 2/3 of the appropriation. And so with supplies and services and operating projects also in there, that makes up the majority of the 870 approximately appropriation. Okay. So as we go through the budget process this year and determine which reductions will be used, there are just some costs that are non-discretionary and cannot be cut. So this chart is showing what they are, and what this is essentially showing is that if the city were to shut down, there are costs that still need to be paid since they're tied to retirees' pensions, retiree medical payments, and existing claims. So as shown in the pie chart, $195 million is non-discretionary, and of that $195 million, unfunded pension and retiree medical accounts for $111 of it, risk fund and workers' comp account for $66 million, and the remainder goes to debt service. So that leaves approximately $678 million for discretionary use. This next chart shows the net general fund costs by department. So if a department brings in revenues from fees or reimbursements, their general fund reliance goes down, while our public safety departments are still the largest part of this pie chart. Their reliance for general fund has gone down, and you can see that especially in fire. Okay. This last pie chart shows a breakdown of the fiscal year 26 approved general fund revenues by funding sources. The largest sources are sales and use tax, which includes both Bradley Burns and Measure U, property tax, and charges and fees and services. The three revenue sources make up approximately 68% of the general fund revenue. And these next two slides will show you the trends of our two largest revenue sources. For property tax, we have seen ongoing growth for the last 7 years, which is attributed to the increase in sales and, of course, property value. And this next slide shows us what has been happening with sales tax. So as Pete mentioned before, we have been seeing a stagnation of growth in sales tax. The reason why we're showing Bradley Burns and Measure U broken up separately is because the question has come up on whether the stagnation of growth is due to the shift to online sales. But what we're seeing here, and as you can see in the chart, is that the point of sale and destination of sales are both stagnant. So what this is showing us is that the stagnation is happening due to the macroeconomic issues that are happening across the state, meaning that inflation is having a huge impact on people's spending habits as we move forward. So at this point in time, we will be paying attention to sales tax very closely to see how it will look in fiscal year 27.
Thank you. And we'll have another update of our sales tax revenues before we come into budget hearings in May. And so, we're cautious, very cautiously hopeful that maybe we'll get a positive, be able to have a positive adjustment. So another thing we were asked was, we approved a budget development policy, which we'll get to in a minute, but what were some alternatives? What are some alternative scenarios we could look at to balance a budget? So the first scenario we wanted to look at was council identified 3 priority areas: economic development, homelessness, and public safety. And what if we had 0 reductions in those 3 areas? How would we balance the budget? So the way we approached this is we said, okay, well, let's look at while all departments may support those priorities in some way, let's look at the departments that are primarily responsible for those priorities and have 0 reductions for them. And so what that would result in is all of the other departments having to hit a 56% net general fund reduction target. And so when we broke that down by department, you can see how it looks. Really the bulk of the reductions as a dollar amount are in YPSI, in information technology, in community development, and city attorney's office. But again, for everyone, this is a 56% net general fund use reduction. And so we reached out to some of the departments to talk about it. And the short answer is this is not feasible. We would not be able to meet state and charter mandates. I just know even in my own department, I would struggle to, make an act for a budget and make payroll and pay bills. We would struggle to do that, and that kind of exists throughout the departments. We would have to close all our neighborhood pools and community centers, parks without Melrose districts, who are already typically in more disadvantaged areas, would not be able to be maintained to a safe standard. We'd eliminate vehicle towing, the $0 impact fee program for affordable housing, the NDAT teams, animal adoptions and homeless outreach. We'd have to cut back permit hours. We'd struggle to provide IT services, and we would most likely not meet our Measure L baseline spending target. So this, again, not very feasible in staff's view. The other scenario we looked at, and this is something a lot of jurisdictions do, which is let's just look at proportionately what we have to cut and assign every department a reduction target. So we would be assigning everyone a 11.6% of net general fund use reduction target, and they could be revenue increases or expense decreases. So this is how it kind of falls out by department. In this scenario, police and fire, they're the biggest share of net general fund use. They would have the biggest reduction target. Police almost 29 million, fire over 18 million. And with the staff report, there's the list of all the scenarios of up to 15% reduction. So you can go and look and for the departments, see what would an 11% reduction look like for police and for fire and for our other departments. And, for public safety, there would be some pretty severe impacts. We'd be eliminating traffic enforcement, the Internet Crimes Against Children team, reducing burglary and robbery units, the POP teams, things like that. On the IT side, some of our critical systems would be at risk. We'd be reducing pretty severely some of our equity programs, and we'd reduce our funding for Old Sacramento from our Community and Cultural Services Department. So the third scenario, this is what we call our baseline. This is the development process that council approved. And this is where we want to try to define and preserve our core services while advancing those priorities and minimizing impacts on the community and on staff to the extent possible. To do this, we asked every department to give us a 15% reduction plan. And the reason we did this is we wanted to have more balancing solutions than the size of our problem. That would allow us to be more strategic than just an across-the-board cut. So if, I'm not spending out my travel budget, I'd rather just reduce that than, lay off a firefighter or something like that. So this was to give us a broader universe of solutions. And at the same time, we looked centrally at what I call citywide solutions. So these are things around debt service, payment structure, reallocating funds from projects maybe we finished or we didn't start yet, things like that. These tend to be more one-time in nature, these citywide strategies, but not all of them are. So again, we're not going to talk about the specific baseline reductions that you're going to hear from the departments. We're going to start that next week. This is, again, to give that broader framework, but we are trying to really advance council's strategic priorities. And so we want to continue some of these innovative economic development programs and innovative ways to finance projects like tax increment financing, supporting entrepreneurs, things like that. You're going to hear more, I'm going to tease it a little bit, we're going to hear more from Brian Pedro next week about some of the efficiencies that we've generated in our homelessness services program and how we can capture some budget savings while maintaining our level of service. So again, we're going to talk more about that next week. We're going to continue the single role program in fire. And then a couple of issues that have come up through the process where people have asked, we have identified funding for the community prosecutor for an additional year. and we are going to recommend maintaining fuel network service levels for an additional year, and given the nexus to federal policy, utilizing the federal funding reserve that council established in this budget. Pending factors, so the biggest one right now is labor negotiations. So we are in negotiations with almost all of our bargaining units. Those may have impacts both on the current year and on the budget year. We will come back throughout the process with updates as agreements are reached and we know what the financial impact will be. Our unfunded liabilities we talked about earlier, as well as the future of the HAP program. I think as council knows, the state does have HAP round 7 in their budget. The issue for us is one of timing, so we may not get it until fiscal year 28. We don't know what additional restrictions might be on the funding, and it is half of the HAP 6 allocation. So I know there's a lot of negotiations that are going to be going on at the State House, and we've seen reductions in our point in time count, and we hope that the state will continue the program at least the current level. And then we have a lot of economic and geopolitical uncertainty right now. There's always the risk of a recession. We have not modeled that in, but it is something that would make our problems a lot harder. So again, beginning next week, you're going to hear an overview of what I would call our baseline balancing plan, which we want to hear council and the public's feedback on. And then you'll hear these very budget-focused presentations from the departments where they're going to articulate the state of their current budget, what the impacts of balancing strategies would be, and then how are we going to align with council's priorities. And this is just a more detailed upcoming budget schedule. So we have the early budget work sessions in March. At the end of April, we will release the proposed budget and have hearings in May for budget adoption in June. And with that, we are happy to take any questions and hear input from council and the public.
Yes, we'll have plenty of questions, but first we want to allow the 20 or so speakers to share their perspective as well. Please call the first item.
Okay. We have 18 speakers for this item. I know we have some new to council folks, so we're going to call a couple names at a time. You'll line up in the aisle, and when it's your turn to speak, you'll come up to the podium and you'll have 2 minutes, and you can see the timer behind us. So our first speaker is Lambert, and then we'll have Diamond and Caitlin Zavala-Contreras.
First of all, I would like to commend the new city manager for speaking to the public like she did, forcefully, because we haven't had that in years when Howard Chan was here. He was as though he was beneath saying something like that. That's very commendable of you. You have to take the lead now. As far as homelessness, I was on the road and my family showed me an article in the Bee. Shout out to the Bee. State Senator Ashby has something on the agenda about homelessness. It should be looked at. It should be studied. And another thing I was going to bring up, and he made it crystal clear for me just now, is that I think that Mr. Plucky Bomb should be reprimanded for leaving the rostrum as much as he does. And he just left again. If he doesn't want to be here, he should resign. Rarely did Katie Valenzuela leave the rostrum. And I don't see many people on this rostrum that leaves. You're here for a reason. Otherwise, why are you here? The article in the Bee, shout out to the Bee. The Bee is on the ball. It shows Mayor McCarty, Plucky Bomb, and this other guy who's over community response. That needs to be looked at because they've already had a chance to do it their way. I'm not talking about Mr. McCarty, Mr. Plucky Bomb, but they've had a way to do homelessness and it didn't work. It's obvious. So you have to maybe possibly go a different direction, even finding out who were the contractors and do an audit on was that mismanaged. Something happened because the money was there. And also, the general fund should also be called Measure U, because they're combined.
Diamond?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Diamond Lulo, and I want to be speaking on the behalf of the budget on Law Academy and every school districts, or the Magnet Academy, as you guys may know it. I want to first off by saying that I am so very grateful that my school and all the schools around us that had the opportunity to have this Law Academy. I've been in the Law Academy since my sophomore year, and I am now a junior. And I want to say thank you to Officer Davis for all giving us an opportunity to be able to have fun in this academy and be able to make a community with us, as well as passing down all his teachings and knowledge and having a bright smile on his face every day. You can notice every time when you walk into our classroom that he just loves to be able to teach us everything he knows about the law enforcement. And since Officer Feuerbach has joined us this past summer, our academy felt complete. At Hiram Johnson, our academy has tremendously needed us. Our football and our cleaning around our campus make so much use of us, as well as our school needs us to the point where I wouldn't know what our academies would do without us. Our academy brings people together and closer as a family. This academy brings me pride and joy, and I'm willing to do whatever I need to keep our academy running smoothly. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Caitlin. After Caitlin, we'll have Jenny Chen and Annalena Martinez, and then Kayuri. Am I saying that right? Kayuri Jones? Go ahead, Caitlin.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start off by saying I'm so glad to be up here as a voice representing my academy. I've been in law since sophomore year and have learned many important skills essential for the career I want to help people in, the career I had spent multiple times thinking about. I have made many friends in this academy who I would never replace. I have made many experiences I would keep with me throughout my whole life. These moments and skills get carried with me as I grow older and find my way in this world. Law Academy has taught me authority, accountability, how to command respect without begging for it, and how to stand tall even when I feel unsure inside. I went from just being a student to someone people look at when decisions need to be made. Officer Davis didn't just see me as a student, he saw leadership and trust in me before I even saw it in myself. When adults in authority trust you like that, it changes how you see yourself. It tells me I'm capable, I'm reliable, and I'm strong. Officer F has impacted me by showing me what true leadership and professionalism look like. He has trusted me in being a lieutenant and an honor guard commander. Watching how he carries himself with discipline and confidence has influenced the way I present myself. And thank you.
Next speaker, Jenny.
Good evening. I am alumni of John F. Kennedy High School of the Magnet Academy. I would like to speak on behalf of our Kennedy kids, as that we would much prefer to have our officers in the classroom more often than just once a week, because a lot of what we learn, we need an officer to give us a personal insight of what they know with their experiences, because a lot of what we do, we help with the community, we kind of further our education in what law is and how it actually operates, because a lot of miscommunications and misconceptions of what the law enforcement does can be found on the internet, and having an officer in the classroom mainly helps with kind of learning what it really is. I'll also like to speak on, a lot of like CSI. We do some experiments with those, and it really helps with our understanding. Our officers also help us connect better with our community, as my officer at Kennedy has driven a lot of our kids around to community services that they otherwise would not be able to go to, because it might be a family issue, they just don't have a ride there, and a lot of it helps us connect with our community. Thank you.
Next, Annalena.
Good evening. I'm Annalena, and I'm also alumni of John F. Kennedy's Magnet Academy, and I am here representing John F. Kennedy's Magnet Academy. I would like to say that we do need our officers in the classroom, as it kind of gives us more of an immersive experience. Like said before, CSI, mock trials, quiz bowls, these experiences are what we need for the real world. It teaches us how to present to, council members here, and other things with our adult life. It teaches us how to be professional, respectful, and leaders. I would like to also mention that the field trips and community services we do need our officers for as well, because it kind of just creates a sense of a safe space along with your officer. It also makes us more communicative with the law enforcement as well. Like said, online there is a lot of discourse on whether an officer or the police force is good or not. Having the opportunity to discuss and get to know these people as they are outside of their uniforms really does impact how we view what the authority is. Thank you.
Kayuri? Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
No, you pronounced it correctly. Good afternoon, all. My name is Kayuri Jones. I am currently the company commander for John F. Kennedy High School, and I'm also a current senior. Throughout the 4 years that I've been in this academy, it has extremely helped me, especially with college, FAFSA. We all know how hard it can get. In our high schools, there's not many people to help us. Teachers are focused on teaching their classes and gradings. So counselors are obviously showing classes. They're bringing new students into the school, also showing them tours of the school, but not many workshops to teach us how to do these things to get through life. My officer, Officer Vasquez at John F. Kennedy High School, has helped us tremendously. We also have an amazing teacher named Chris Herner, my favorite teacher personally. He walked us through how to do FAFSA, which a lot of students don't know how to do on their own. He also walked us through the parents portion, which, coming from me, I have a mother who is an immigrant. She immigrated from Thailand. She doesn't know how to do many things in California or can help me with things like college. So, excuse me, sorry. My teacher has helped me a lot. Excuse me. My officer and my teacher have become very close to me. Oh.
You're doing great.
Thank you. They have become like a family to me. They have become second parents. I also have a godfather who was my mother's magnet officer at Grant Union High School. He is now one of the people I look up to most in my life. He has taught me how to get through life and also how to get through college and how to do certain things, and it also has taught me communication with the academy. Like here we have Hiram, Intercom. They have taught me many things which I wouldn't have been able to learn without my officer. Please do not take that away from all of us. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Rose, Schoen, Christopher Herner, and Azir.
Sorry. I really feel for these kids. My comment is not on theirs, but it is relevant that in the city of Sacramento, we have public parks with sport courts. A sport court is like tennis, pickleball, basketball, skate parks, and futsal. These are courts that use the same amount of electricity as the other courts. There are more than 100 sport courts in public parks in Sacramento, but only for the futsal courts is the city requiring people to get $1 million insurance policy, go and get a permit in advance, and pay for it in person. This is not equitable for community members, especially for a lot of the members of the community in Districts 2 and 3. Just for me to even attempt to create an opportunity for kids to play on these public courts, I have to get a $1 million insurance policy. I have to go fill out the permits. I have to go pay in person. There's no way to pay online for these futsal courts. But if I want to go play tennis, pickleball, basketball, or go to a skate park, I can just show up and use those amenities with lights. A majority of the members of the community want to use these facilities after 5 p.m. Why are we discriminating against certain members of the community to use a public asset and other members get to receive public lighting? It is very inequitable. My ask to the council is to treat court sports fairly and equally. If you're going to require people to get a $1 million insurance policy and get permits, why are not all sport courts required to do that? Or if you're just going to let all of them enjoy the amenities. I don't think it's a large ask to have 6 futsal courts be the same accessibility as the basketball, pickleball, and tennis courts. I believe that all of them should be accessible for the community. I would like to know what is the actual cost per hour. I want to know the numbers. I want to know what is actually on the budget currently, because there's no question that if I want to play tennis, I can show up and play. There is no question. But if I want to go play futsal, or if members of the community want to play futsal, which is not soccer, it is a different sport, it is 5v5 on a concrete sport, they're expected to get a permit. So I'd like to know, what is the actual budget per year for the sport courts, and how do we get these other 6 futsal courts on the budget? Thank you.
Christopher, and then Azir.
Hello, I'm Christopher Herner. I'm the lead instructor of the Criminal Justice Academy at John F. Kennedy High School. I don't know if you guys know, but it's a partnership between SAC Unified and SAC PD, and I'm the SAC Unified half. We also have a California Partnership Academy grant that we get through the Department of Ed. The officer currently is critical as far as the business match, right? It's the school has to match the money that CDE gives, and then our business partner, which is Sacramento Police Department, they then match the third part. Without the officer, it's just a program taught by a teacher, which is exciting enough in and of itself, but what really makes it pop is the officer. And I know there's a lot of focus in policing on community policing, and people want police to be more hands-off, and they want police to talk more to the community. Our program literally does that. That is what the kids get to do. They get to meet officers, they get to talk to them. They don't see them as just a uniform. They don't see him as, Officer Vasquez. They see her as Lilia, and they know who she is. And there's a connection there that you wouldn't normally get. So I think it works on multiple levels. We mainly pull from Meadowview, so we are literally structurally, and in ed law, actually, we're required to take kids that are considered at risk, so they have lower GPAs. We have, with that particular group, we have 100% graduate. That's unheard of. I mean, it is outrageous how well that goes. And a lot of that has to do with the officer being in there, setting that example, just being there consistently. And part of what happens is the kids, like Kayuri talked about, they do become like a family, and they get really, really connected to each other. And once you have that, then sort of the teacher, I can kind of stand back, and the kids just push each other. I mean, it's amazing to watch it. We always talk about peer pressure as something negative. In our case, it's something positive, because with the officer's help, we're pushing them towards success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Azir Banta. I'm lieutenant of Intercom High School Magnet Academy. I'm here to say that Officer Frank Lay has been a great officer to all of us in Intercom, and I honestly don't know what I'd do. He has helped me between mentoring, and he has gave me the trust and capabilities to be a lieutenant in this program. He has taught me many different things, to stand up, be confident. I am so proud to just go to other companies in our school, just be like, you need to go up, do better, be more confident. And that's what I do now. I just go up, tell all the cadets out there, be like, you just need to be more into this program, which this program, we are hands-on with every single thing we do. We go to field trips, community service, we go out to the community and we help out the community. We get more closer. I have seen many stories of students who really hated the fact that they are close to officers, but now this program has exposed them to those fields, and then now they have a different view upon these police officers because of this program. I would like to thank the fact that my teacher, Mr. Hale, has also been there with me as also a teacher of correctionals. But those two, they have helped me a long time. When a month ago, I have collapsed, and I had those two right beside me, helping me out, assisting me when I was in a very grave amount of emergency. I have Officer Lay right next to me as he gets transported, as I get transported, to the hospital. And I have liked the fact that he has been there like a family member to me, as he has been there to make sure I was safe throughout my whole entire year in the school. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers, Celeste, Natalie, and then Marilee.
Good afternoon. My name is Celeste Hogel, and I am captain in the Public Safety Pathway at Intercom High School. I have been a part of this program for nearly 3 years, and during that time, I have grown into a new cadet to a student leader. Officer Frank Lay has not only been a supervisor, but a mentor, a role model, and consistent source of guidance for all of us. He has shown us that law enforcement is more than what is portrayed. It is about service, professionalism, and building trust within a community about service. His leadership has helped shape my decision to pursue a career in law enforcement, possibly the military, and to attend majoring in criminology. Officer Lay has introduced me and many others and continues to guide me in Honor Guard. As Honor Guard Commander, I have had the opportunity and others to participate in this extracurricular activity, an honorable role. Because of his involvement day to day for years, I have seen friends and fellow cadets pursue college, the military, and the next steps towards a career in law enforcement. His presence has changed many lives and continues to give purpose and meaning to every cadet in this program. During a very difficult time in my life, Officer Lay's presence in this program gave me life. With his mentorship, I did not just get through that period, I flourished. I have seen him provide that same steady support to other cadets who needed it most. This program has also helped me personally. It gave me structure during challenging times in my life. It helped me build confidence, responsibility, and leadership skills. I've seen other cadets grow the same way from uncertain students into focus-driven young adults. Most importantly, it gave me my participation in service meaning due to this program and Officer Lay and Mr. Hale. Beyond personal growth, this program actively serves our community. We assist at marathons, city races, and major public events throughout Sacramento. We represent our school and city with professional.
I'm sorry, I have to cut you off. That's your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Natalie?
Hello, my name is Natalie Turn, and I'm a cadet from Hiram Johnson's Law Academy.
Get a little closer. Can't hear you.
You can pull it down.
Yeah, I can pull it down. There you go.
The academy is important to me because of multiple opportunities that students get. For instance, in our academy, we get to learn about so many aspects about law enforcement. Some of the multiple things we experience in the Law Academy are community service, competitions, events like Law Ball, and law enforcement procedures such as pat-down searches. Without an officer, this would fall apart. In this moment, this academy feels like a class rather than an academy due to the long period from last year in which we did not have an officer, which is why it is crucial to have an officer in our academy. Having an officer helps our academy to have pride and discipline in which it needs. Thank you, and I yield my time. Thank you.
Marilee?
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Madieli, and I'm the commander of Hiram Johnson High School Law Academy. I am speaking today as the highest ranked leader in our academy and as someone who has experienced our program with and without a consistent officer. Last year, our academy didn't have an officer and just one teacher to not only focus on curriculum, but on community service, partnership with law enforcement agencies, and real-world experiences. That is just too much for one person. As a result, our program suffered. We had fewer hands-on learning, limited experiences, and lacked practice in our competitions. Most importantly, we lacked the connection to the law enforcement base our academy is designed to prepare us for. This year, with Officer F here, the transformation and impact has been incredible. Enrollment has grown within our academy, and student engagement has increased because of his presence. For example, we won the All Academy Challenge, and our Honor Guard team improved. As commander, I experienced this change personally as well. See, leadership without mentorship can be isolating. I carry responsibilities that required guidance and more support. With Officer F, I gained more consistent support. I gained accountability, structure, and professional mentorship. That support strengthened me as a leader and strengthened our academy as a whole. Our officer goes way beyond what he's just paid for. After his long shifts, he still prioritizes us and shows up for us. He comes in on weekends to clean our academy space. He helps our senior class fundraise for our senior trip. He connects students with jobs, and he ensures that no student is left without access to opportunity. Officer F brings in officers from specialized units across the department to expose us to the full scope of law enforcement careers and makes us feel like we can do anything we want to. Even when he saw that our uniforms didn't fit correctly, he set up a day for them to be corrected because he believes we should represent our academy with the pride and discipline it deserves. Reducing officer presence from 4 days to 1 would not just change the schedule, it would reduce consistency, mentorship, and compromise the drastic progress our academy has made. As commander, I respectfully urge you to maintain the level of 4 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next three speakers, Maria, Layla, and Brianna.
Are these the final speakers? We have others too.
5 left.
Yeah, this is for this group, pretty much.
I think so. We want one more on this.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Maria Gutierrez, and I am the parent of Marieli Gutierrez, who holds the title as a commander-in-law at Hiram Johnson High School. I am here because as a parent, I would like to let you know the accomplishments and the wonderful things that are currently happening to my daughter because of programs like these at school, and also for having an officer involved at school. My daughter started the law program when she was a junior, and there was no officer involved, which was last year. Though it was a nice program for her junior year, she would overhear other students mention that the program is awesome when there's both a parent and a law officer involved. Over the summer, she learned that this year in her senior year, an officer will become part of the law program. She was really excited and could not wait for her senior year. So she has been overjoyed, and now I'm actually going to start reading because I have a lot to start reading there. So I wanted to just kind of talk to you guys directly too, just to let you know that this has opened so many opportunities for her. Like having an officer involved and learning of all the opportunities she has, she just grew love into the law program. And she's just so happy with it that she's actually trying to pass this on for the future kids that come to Hiram Johnson. Thanks to all of that, she's been, into law so much that she's been doing attorney general's programs here. She's been engaged in so many things that now I'm just excited. I'm emotional because I get excited because she's been accepted to, sorry, Maria, I don't know where you're at, but I'm happy for you, to 3 UCs, and also 4 CSU. So I'm really happy because of programs like these. Please do not take away this from kids. These kids have been through so much through COVID that right now it's sad to see that, these things are making them up. And me hearing them talk, it just breaks my heart for them, we should not remove these things from them. Please, and keep off.
I'm sorry, I have to cut you off. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Layla?
Hello, I am Layla Rowden, a freshman from John F. Kennedy High School. I've been brought here today to defend the positions that magnet officers hold in this district. These officers have protected, guided, and encouraged many students and cadets while positively touching their lives and encouraging them to join law enforcement. My question is, how will you allow these young adults to be robbed of a form of education? Would you prefer students who see their future in law enforcement, such as myself, have a hands-on educator like this be taken away? These officers aren't just educators. They're a foundation to all criminal justice programs that help young adults for the real world. They're role models that have a purpose and deserve to be recognized and appreciated. Though I've attended Kennedy and their criminal justice program for only 8 months, I've seen magnet officers bring life to campuses and to the classrooms. Whether it's leading cadets in marching, telling stories, or teaching, they have a purpose. They educate, protect, and guide students like any other teacher would. So why? Why do you feel the need to cut a piece of something that can be the new generation of that can help the new generation of police officers evolve? I say we keep our beloved and appreciate our educators in our classrooms, allowing them to keep their jobs and inspire new students every day. If this matter wasn't so important, I wouldn't be missing school to address it. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Brianna? After Brianna, we have Yvette and then Henry Harry.
I just want to start by saying how proud I am to stand here as your administrator and watch these students and listen to them speak. It's incredible. So good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name's Brianna Wells. I'm an assistant principal at Hiram Johnson High School. I'm here today to speak about the importance of maintaining school-based police partnerships as you consider these upcoming budget decisions. Officer Feuerbach, the officer assigned to our Magnet Law Academy, is far more than a visible figure on campus. He's a vital part of our students' growth and development. He mentors students, collaborates with teachers, and provides community service opportunities that they all just spoke about. He provides enrichment activities and real-world experiences as well, all preparing students for future careers in law enforcement and in public service. Officer Feuerbach is currently on our campus 4 days per week, and the Sacramento Police Department is now looking to reduce that presence to just 1 day per week. I ask you to consider what that really means as you make these decisions moving forward. How will officers build and maintain meaningful relationships with students and their colleagues when their time on campus is so limited. Our students at Hiram Johnson High School need strong mentors. They need positive role models, and they need consistent adult figures in their lives. They need adults who show up, build trust over time, model integrity and accountability, and help guide them through critical decisions during some of the most formative years of their lives. That kind of mentorship cannot be sustained on 1 day per week. This program is more than a class. It's a pathway, one that builds leadership, accountability, and purpose while creating a pipeline of students who may one day serve in the Sacramento Police Department or other emergency responder agencies. I respectfully urge you to protect what's working before we are forced to rebuild what has already been proven effective for our students and their futures. Thank you.
Yvette?
Good evening. I'm Yvette Mendoza from John F. Kennedy, and I'm the Lieutenant of Public Service and Public Information Branch. Up until a few months ago, I wasn't lieutenant. I was a regular cadet. But thanks to Officer Vasquez, she trusted me to become a lieutenant. This academy has shown me that I'm much more than what I thought I was. I joined my junior year, and I was able to learn so much from Officer Vasquez and Mr. Herner. The first day that I met Officer Vasquez, instead of just saying, welcome in or something like that, she hugged me and said, I'm gonna be like your new mom. And that's exactly what she's been. She spends so much time with us, and she dedicates a lot of personal time that she could be with her family to be with us because of how much it means to her that we learn what it is to be a part of law enforcement. There's a lot of misconceptions about law enforcement, and half the time, us younger generations, we're on social media and we see body cam footage that is unexplained. But when we are with these officers, I know not just only me, but other Magnet Academies, we get real perspectives of what it means to be an officer. The Academy has helped me realize my place in law enforcement and public service, and I wouldn't have it any other way. If you take away the amount of time that these officers are with us, you are harming us. We need these officers. They're not only there to mentor us, but they're our family. So please, I ask you guys to not go forward with this, because this is something that would really damage future generations. I know my time in the Academy will be done in a few months, but this academy has been, at least at Kennedy, for more than 15 years. Layla, she's a freshman. She needs the time with Officer Vasquez. I know not only in our academy at John F. Kennedy, but at the other schools. So please, I urge you guys that you listen to our plea. Thank you.
Thank you. Free Harry?
I want to say thank you to all you future police officers. It's going to be a great ride for you. I am glad that we're doing these budget scenarios, but we could have gotten here a year ago when I was in this chamber and I'd asked the mayor to do some budget hearings with citizens in this chamber. We also need another scenario. We need one showing a 3% cut to workers under $70,000, 4% under $90,000, 7% under $110,000, and 10% under $200,000, and 12% over $200,000, including this council. These are just placeholder numbers. What does a scenario look like if we get 2 tax measures passed? And I hope this brings us to a conversation about a law enforcement tax deal that results in a separate and ongoing funding stream for law enforcement. Now, anything is possible because politics is the art of the possible. Now I'm shifting gears. I have to believe that these talks about staffing cuts are real and it's not political posturing. So, against this reality, why is this council fighting to pay $1.5 million or $500,000 a year for illegal immigrants and their attorneys, with about $300,000 of that money going to pay those attorneys and to pay for their training? And our tax dollars are being subgranted from that group to other entities. And I'm trying to understand this because there's some people in my community that don't have sidewalks and they can't get their potholes fixed. Thank you.
Mayor, I have no more speakers.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I want to give an acknowledgement to our amazing future leaders from all of the high schools around Sacramento. Thank you for showing up to your city hall. This is not our city hall, so thank you very much for being engaged. I'm not sure whether it's a future career in law enforcement or maybe a council member, a mayor, or city manager. We'll see. They're all on the horizon. Just stay engaged. And thank you for your perspective. We're weighing all these issues as you walk out the door, and so this is all part of our process. Yeah. We'll just take a 10-second break here. Okay, so that was maybe a good perspective because we now have the hard work to do. So I asked the city manager to agendize it like this, and I spent some time with Pete and the team, and I spoke to a lot of you on the council up here at the dais. Last year's budget process was fine, but I think after last year and the year before, which was the first year of having to make some reductions, and 3 of us are new here, I thought it was important just to have a more budget 101 and lay out there what we've done, what's on the horizon, and what options exist. And so this was the start of the process. In some, I think I said this last year, they're all bad choices we had before us. None of these are great choices. The only good choices are doing things that we had to do other nights like last week and talk about economic development and growing our economy and getting more money in the city coffers. So we have limited options, of course. So my understanding, 24 was the first year that we made reductions, and then last year was the second year, and used a lot of our one-time resources in our economic uncertainty reserve, swept a lot of vacancies, increased some fees, recovery from fire and others. And so those were, I think, the easier solutions. So now are the tough options. And some have called us, me and others, the last couple of days and says, why would you do scenario 1 versus 2? And we may have a lot of these values, but I think it's important that we just focus on mathematics 101 and lay it all on the table and have an unvarnished perspective as what the choices look like, what it would mean if you left some departments unscathed, like you said in scenario 1, or across the board. And I know a lot of people are fearful that they're on the list, kind of like school districts. From those of you who came from school boards, I know Maya and Lisa remember this. In tough times, you put out those teacher notices, and people are scared, and then you have to go and make decisions later on. You may not do those, but I think it's important for us to be honest and lay it all out on the table, and these are the choices that we are evaluating with. So I know that we'll have several more of these down the road, getting into scenarios. But tonight, I just wanted a big perspective. And I also want to tell the public, and some people are here today, some are watching, and maybe reported too, that people have ideas, and give us your ideas. We'll evaluate every idea that you give us. We will keep a list of them and try to analyze them and put them up somewhere that people can see. Some are things that are like our council values. So you talked earlier about, the fuel network or the subsidizing the bus passes, and those are council priorities. And, even if you did those two, that's $750,000, and we still have north of $60 million. So I'm not saying we're not going to do those, but I think it's important to look in perspective. And some have called us and says, hey, you should do things differently with solid waste and the enterprise funds and contract out. And we could do that, but that would impact the utility fund and the enterprise fund and not the general fund. So I just think we need to have an honest conversation with us and the public as far as what choices are out there and what that would look like as we go down this road. So I know that we're up for the challenge, and, councils, across the state are facing the same issue. We are not unique to this. And I think that we've been sound the first couple years trying to minimize impact on the citizens of the city of Sacramento, and we'll do that again this year, but make no mistake, there will be some difficult choices in the coming months. So with that, I'll turn it over to Councilmember Dickinson, the budget chair.
Well, thanks, Mayor. Thanks for your comments. And I do try to approach this with that sense of chairing the budget committee, and our responsibility is to try to take a view of this that's helpful ultimately to the full council as we go through this process. And I think it is helpful to have this sooner rather than later. Ultimately, I think we need to show people exactly how we have to go about balancing this budget, and what that means, both in terms of addressing the structural deficit, as well as the opportunities to mitigate the chore in front of us with what's available in terms of one-time opportunities as well. And that's a balancing process also, because as Pete showed with that chart, we have, if we don't address it, a growing structural deficit. So there's no avoiding that reality, and that requires us to be cognizant of it and address it. I have a few thoughts that I want to share, in not a particular order, but things that I think are relevant, at least from my perspective, to looking at this process and the ultimate shape of the budget. The first is something that I raised last year, and I think is still meaningful this year, and that's to do a careful analysis of our vacancies and see where there might be opportunities to reduce vacancies that we budget for but never seem to fill over a long period of time. And Pete's going to develop that roster again of vacancies and duration, and share that with us in the weeks ahead.
Correct. Yeah, we're working on that now, and we'll have an overlay with kind of baseline decisions too, so you can see which ones would be swept under the baseline scenario and what's remaining.
And I appreciate that, Pete. I approach budgets in this condition with a couple of touchstones in mind. One is to maintain services at least the existing level to the maximum extent possible, and the other is to preserve those employees who work for the city to the maximum extent possible. I think those are both constants that, as much as we can make them such, that are important to provide stability to the organization and certainty to the public, recognizing that there may have to be alterations in those things, but striving to get to those two elements in the ultimate budget. I do believe the priorities are correct and consistent with what the council chose to elevate as priorities and reflected in scenario 3. I do think that across the board cuts don't make sense. It is easier to do it that way, but it has impacts that I think are much more difficult to absorb for the public when that approach is taken, and not necessarily helpful to the organization either. I appreciate the inclusion in this scenario 3 of funding for the regional transit, kids ride free program. You didn't mention it, but as I understand it, it's a $250,000 element in the item in the budget.
That's correct. The city's share is $250,000, and then the other $750 are being funded by RT in the school districts.
And I will say that this program has been enormously successful. It is, as my colleagues who sit on the RT board as well know as maybe others of you who don't, it's up to 5 million rides a year for young people. A lot of those are to school and back, but to other places too, and they get to know the community. They get there, and I will just say in a small personal side note, growing up, I rode the bus all over, and it was my ticket to freedom. To be who I wanted to be, go where I wanted to go, do what I wanted to do, because I could go get on the bus. And so I'm sure there are many young people who have that same experience, and that's important. I also appreciate funding the community prosecutor. We're talking about economic development as a priority, but I think we have to be honest. Clean and safe is the foundation to drawing economic investment. And so if we have neighborhoods or communities, commercial areas where people don't feel and they aren't clean and safe, then we're going to have a hard time generating the kind of economic development we'd like to see. So in that connection, the community prosecutor is a very important element of addressing that in not just North Sacramento, that's the funding, but here in downtown and elsewhere where the community prosecutors are available. So I do appreciate that. I would also say, and hadn't thought so much about this before, looking at some of the potential revenue increases, that shifting work items that are in the general fund to the enterprise funds as much as possible, I think is a wise strategy certainly from a financial point of view. So it made me recall that was something we did with the county when times were tight as well, and so I think that does make a lot of sense. I think it's clear from what you presented and what we all know that our advocacy for restoring HAP to at least $1 billion, and that may be as far as we can get. I'm looking at the mayor, who I know is working on this, as we all are whenever we have the opportunity to interact with our colleagues at the state level. But if, just by way of example, if we realized 12.9 million once again in the budget year, our deficit goes down by $13 million from 66 to 53, basically. So it's not inconsequential, to say the least. And I think that should motivate us to all be very, very focused on being great advocates for that program as the state budget develops over the next few months. I want to just talk for a moment about economic development. And what we're seeing, if I calculate it correctly, is property tax growing roughly at a little under a 4% rate. And sales tax, as you showed, is basically flat. If we're going to successfully and less painfully address our structural deficit over the next few years, that has to change. We need property tax to grow more. We need sales tax not to be flat. Now, some of this is beyond our control, to be sure. Market conditions, both locally and nationally, even internationally, affect those things. But I think if we focus on the fact that combined property tax and sales tax provides 55% of our revenue, it seems, I think, fairly obvious that it's important for us to focus as much attention as we can on growing those sources in order to help us balance our budgets, both in the short and intermediate terms. And again, that means the kinds of investments that we can make that allow our local economy to grow are more critical than ever. So the devices and means that we're looking at to be innovative about stimulating economic investment and economic growth, I think ought to be a real priority, and I believe they are for us. As I said at the outset, I think as we continue to address the structural deficit, we look for that balance between what we can do on a one-time basis and what we need to do on an ongoing basis. But that's the kind of those are the kinds of considerations that I, as one member and as the budget chair, will keep in mind as we go through this process. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Thank you, Mayor. First, let me just acknowledge and thank the Law Academy here that came for both Hiram Johnson, Intercom, and also Kennedy. I've had an opportunity to see many of those students, and very moved by Commander Maria Gutierrez for her comments today. And I do think that if we're going to meet our what we have said as a policy and as a vision for the city, that our departments, and including our police department, reflect our city, that this is how we achieve it. We achieve it by programs like these. And the second piece I wanted to say is thank you for the recognition on funding fuel through the Federal Reserve policy and making sure we move more so. Now more than ever, I think we see the necessity of that. I had the unfortunate conversation to speak to the person who was running some of our motel voucher programs here in Sacramento, helping citizens who manage and are in that program in the Northgate area while she was in Tijuana, because she showed up and was picked up during her citizenship application process. And so I do want to thank the Vice Mayor for leading awareness on this. And because of the Fuel Network, we also were able to connect her with legal counsel. And that person has been a taxpayer in Sacramento since 2001. So we're talking about taxes and revenue for our city and the support and helping people get back on their feet. Where does the Fuel Network fit in this? And make sure that we have not only a respected community, but a strong and respected workforce as well. I have a 1 point and then a 1 question here. On the point of sales tax revenue, I see again that Bradley Burns is in a negative direction. It was identified by the consultant that we brought in, and it has been for the last 3 years. Yes, the economy is at play, and this inflation is at play, but so is the online purchasing and the movement that our sales tax is being collected. And so I do believe that we have to speed up our retail side of our commerce. And I met with some folks in the industrial area, in the power in area, about them getting their paint shop that they do collision repair set up to expand it. And it's been taking them 4 months to get going. So the longer they're not open, then that's money they're not collecting, but it's also tax revenue we're not collecting either. Had a conversation with one of our local coffee shops today at lunch, similar issue. So I think making sure that on our permitting side, on our process development side, we're moving as quickly as we can to get people who want to get their business going, particularly their retail business where we collect sales tax revenue, that we support those efforts. And then on the question side, in your presentation, Peter, you identified $250 million in supplies and in services. Now, obviously, on the supply side, we're going to need whatever we need for every department. But on the services side, I've questioned in the past, and I don't. This is all lumped into one, so maybe not an answer for today, but for the future, contract services, and what contract services at a lower cost can be brought in-house versus higher cost one-time services. So maybe if that could come back into later time.
We've gotten another question as well about what contracts are budgeted in the general fund. So we're working on a report.
Yeah, I appreciate that because that's, $250 million in that chunk. So that's it. I appreciate the comments by our budget chair. Thank you for those. And it is a long-term effort, both on how do we grow our revenue, but also manage our expenses given our current condition.
Yeah, so through the mayor, Councilman, we're also looking at consulting services across the city and seeing how we can bring some of those services back and reduce some of our consulting services. And sometimes we probably need to rebid some of those consulting services as well. So that's more of a long-term project, but we are looking into that as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Maple.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I want to start out by, again, I know they've already left, but thanking the students who came here today. I know it's not easy to come and speak up in front of this dais from the podium, but I thought that they strongly made their case, especially in the way that we know that this is an investment into prevention. So I'm certainly interested in making sure that we can continue that program on and looking at other ways that we can save those costs. I also want to thank our city manager and our budget team. I really like the way that this is laid out this year. I do think that in years past, we've kind of done it a little bit later, had things kind of crunched towards the end, and it makes it more challenging for us to identify the things that are important and what we want to do, but also for the public. And so I think this is a great way to have a foray for them to start to understand what we want to do, but we're not going to rush into any decision making. We get a chance to review everything. And so that's one thing I want to make sure that the public knows. I know the city manager said this, but this is just the beginning. So if you see that things are being proposed, it doesn't mean that that's necessarily things that the decision that this council will make. There are a lot of different options on the table. We will consider them, and we certainly do listen to our staff and take their opinions into consideration. But we also have our own priorities and things that are important to us. So don't be alarmed if you see something that's on there now. It may not be there in the next month, depending on how conversations go. So I think that's important. I will speak broadly to start in that I said this last time, I'll say it again. I think equity is very important and that we have that lens as we have these discussions moving forward on the budget. And specifically, because I know that there are proposed cuts to things like pools and community centers, what those mean in neighborhoods and areas where they have a reliance on those, like a lot of the communities that I represent. That may be their only meal and maybe the only place that they can cool down because they don't have HVAC in their homes and so on. And so I will be very keenly interested to see how we can balance these and ensure that the communities that don't have a lot of those infrastructure resources are not left behind as we talk about these cuts, potential cuts. Contracts, I've brought this up again, but I just want to keep highlighting it as we have these conversations. I would love to see a list of the city's contracts that we have in each of our departments. We contract out for a lot of different services and consulting contracts and beyond, and a lot of these are very necessary. I'm not making comments on whether or not we should have the contracts. I think it's just important for us to know what those are. And especially take a look at if there are ones that we haven't renegotiated in years, ones that may have made sense 10 years ago, maybe don't make sense now. I think those are important conversations, and it might be a way for us to find savings that we aren't currently looking at. Another broad comment is around the effectiveness of programs. So there's a lot of programs at the city of Sacramento. Many of them are really important, not suggesting any one program or another needs to be cut, but that we're constantly taking a look at what's working and what's not. We have the data from those, and we're able to take a look at, is this program reaching the goals that we first set out for it to do? And if not, we should be assessing whether or not that's a program we want to continue to fund, or if it's something that we should pause or take a different approach to. So those are some of my broad comments. I know we'll have many more conversations as we move toward the budget process, and I look forward to participating in the Budget and Audit Committee with the chair. I appreciate your comments. I did want to make a couple other things. I know one of the public commenters made comments about the potential of cutting salaries for city workers. I just want to say that's absolutely not something that I support. I know that there are, everything that happens in the city happens because of the people who work here. They are the ones that are out cutting the grass in the parks. They're the ones that water the trees. They're the ones that show up when there's a storm and then something falls over or something is flooding. And so I think it's vitally important that we continue to pay the people who do the work, who show up every day. And that's a big part of what we do as a city. The other comment I wanted to make, along with Councilmember Guerra, is that supporting the fuel network. I think it is one of the most vital things that we do as a city is that we continue to support immigration, and our immigrants in our communities and making sure that they have legal defense and support. A lot of these people live in our neighborhoods here in the city of Sacramento, and we're going to stand up for them. And so that's something I'm really proud is in this budget. I don't want to see it cut, as well as the ride-free program. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Talamantes.
Thank you. Pete, thank you so much for the number of non-negotiable money that you can't touch. If the city were to shut down, we still have to pay this money, $195 million. That is a lot of money that we still have to pay, even if the city of Sacramento shuts down. I know I've been curious about this number for quite some time, so I appreciate you putting it as part of the presentation. Actually, to the entire finance team. And then obviously this is the very beginning, but I do want to say that for next year's budget cycle, doing 15% cuts across the board in every single department where departments only have 3 employees or 6 employees or 10 employees, 15% is such a large number for those small departments. And I do think it hurts morale in the city of Sacramento and creates unnecessary panic. So I know that this year we're doing the budget as is and we're going to continue plugging forward, but for next year I think that we have to think more creatively on how we're going to pursue this. And we also already have these budget reductions that were submitted this year, so we can use those for next year so that we don't have to do this cycle over and over every single year. And I just want to give examples of of how these 15% reductions have impacts. First, our city auditor's office just hired somebody new in her management team. And, there was a question of whether to make the hire, complete the paperwork or not because of the 15% reductions. And I, at least for myself, I said, go ahead, please hire so we can continue moving forward. And now she's having to submit 15% reductions and it's like, how is that going to impact her team? Or say that people are applying for the police department here and they see all over the news that we have such a large budget deficit. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to be first on the chopping block because I'm the newest employee. Should I apply there or should I apply in Elk Grove or in West Sac or in another city? And so that's something to consider as we move forward in future budget cycles. I look forward to hopefully making the cuts this year that are going to be ongoing for next year so that we don't have to go through the cycle. And like we've talked about here, ripping the Band-Aid, I think it's time and it's not going to be fun, like the mayor said. In the previous years, we've gone through and we've reduced vacancies, we've cut contracts, we've done small things here and there to meet the budget, but this is going to be a tough year for all of us. And so for everybody watching, if you're going to come here and say, please don't cut this, well, what do you recommend we cut? Because we have to balance the budget. And with that being said, I am very thankful that we're starting early and that we're presenting the scenarios with what we were presented today to show the people what we're currently facing. I agree with Councilmember Guerra on or Mayor Pro Tem Guerra on the consulting services and Councilmember Maple on bringing those in-house. I think that when we launch new pilot programs or decide to take new initiatives on here in the city of Sacramento, our automatic reaction is, okay, let's hire a consultant to help us with this. I think that the city of Sacramento has a lot of capable employees that are smart and talented and ambitious to make the city better, and we need to start using our employees in-house instead of naturally just saying, we're gonna get a contract for somebody else to help us. And then also on homelessness, it's just tough to see $35.3 million from our general fund and the state having $12.9 million for the 2025-2026 year. Obviously, homelessness is one of our #1 priorities, so it does need funding, but it's also for us, and relying on our state connections to say, hey, please draw down more dollars because it's not sustainable for us as the city of Sacramento. And we're not a health and human services agency. And we should make sure that when we're doing all homelessness, we're covering the cost of building the homes and everything, but the services is something that we, the city of Sacramento, shouldn't be paying for. That should be 100% the county. And so I look forward to Brian Pedro's presentation on that, but it is a #1 priority, so it will be in the budget. But with that being said, I agree with a lot of my colleagues' recommendations on moving enterprise funds to general funds and restoring HAP and bringing consulting services in-house. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off again by thanking our new city manager. Barely barely over a month or so in and shaking things up in a positive way so that we as council have more time to be able to have these conversations and digest and ask the questions and get answers. So thank you for that. And I do hope that we as a city potentially look at bringing in an outside entity as a certain forensic audit of our budget. How are we spending our money? Is it appropriate? Because having a set of outside eyes is, I think, sometimes important when we're looking at how do we change things. Not that anybody has done anything wrong, but sometimes we get stuck in the way that we're doing things, and it's important to get an outside expert perspective. With that said, I have been asking for us to look at a 2-year budget since I got elected, because I think it is really important that we stop the cycle of passing a budget that we claim is balanced, but the minute the budget starts the next year, there's a structural deficit. That is not good for our employees, it is not good for our morale, and it's just not good business for the taxpayers and our consumers of knowing how we're spending the money. So I really do hope we push towards how can we get close to balancing the first year and close to a second year. As we build this budget, not only as we look at what's important to me is, of course, our priorities, but when we look at cuts, are we minimizing the cuts to our employees? And what I mean by that is I support where my colleagues have said, look at our outside contracts and consultants. It's more important that maybe something of an outside consultant takes 3 years because we have to bring it in-house than cutting an employee. When I look at if our parks are gonna be decimated, I would rather let go an outside contract than let go our parks maintenance employees, which are some of the lowest paid. And if they lose their job, they may be next in line to be on the streets because they are unable to pay their bills. So I do want to see what that looks like. And what are we getting with outside contracts? Is it essential? Does it relate to what our charter, our city charter is? Or is it something, while we all agree might be important, it can be delayed a year so that we can address the budget deficit? I do support if we've got projects, I don't like this because we all know I like infrastructure, but if it means that we slow down because it brings general fund savings, then we should probably slow down. If it means delaying something, then we should look at the priorities of delaying something. If it means we get to keep our employees and we don't lay them off. Again, I call it CCLI, the continuous cycle of learning and improvement. How can you make decisions if we don't have the data that really backs up the decisions that we are making? Are we cutting a program that is really successful and keeping something that isn't? So having data behind what are we cutting and why, I think is also really important. That I know through being on many committees, and I know Measure U is really pushing this, that I think it's important that we look at that. I'd like to be on the table as we look at, I hate AI, I'm not a fan of AI, but AI is here. And what are we doing as the city? Are there certain things where there actually are employee vacancies that AI can help improve our services as a city and save money at the same time if AI has been tried and true? But it comes with, I want to make sure we have stronger cybersecurity monitoring, we look at staff training on AI tools and responsible uses. If this is something that we are now looking at best practices, that we have those best practices in-house. I am fully on board with the leadership of our budget chair of how do we have appropriate use of fund allocations. I know that if we can decide those and you can see them, but I also know that's something that a forensic audit can look at. And I started this conversation with Councilmember Dickinson last year of asking about the vacancies. And I think it's really important because we know we have a lot of vacancies in our police department. And that helps us with our overtime to cover things. Is there a possibility to maybe only freeze some for a year, but not get rid of those positions? Because it is so important in dispatch, and it is so important for recruitment of our officers to have positions open because of the training and how long it takes to bring appropriate individuals on board. But that may be a use of one-time. Not my favorite, but considering public safety is really important, how do we look at that without decimating a program and getting rid of any officers or programs? Pete, thank you for the one slide on where how we're spending our homelessness funds. I mean, 35.3 million out of our general fund. That's a lot to take. One of the things I would like to see further as we have that discussion, when we looked at our motel hotel voucher program in the audit, it was broken down of how much funding actually came from Measure U, came from the general fund. What source of funding are these funds coming from? Because it goes back to my premise. We need to be able to fund what we have. So why are we growing things we don't have the money to support, especially when it may mean we are laying off individuals? Supporting our employees and what we have, I think, is incredibly important, but getting a further breakdown of where the general fund costs are coming from is something I would like to see. Priorities, I want to take you up on the children funds policy discussions of weighing what do we need as a potential minimum balance, knowing that the cannabis tax income coming in fluctuates. We don't know if it'll go in or out, but still having 12 million on hand may be too much, because we want to make sure that goes to good uses. On a personal level, I was a school board member that pushed and set up the Intercom Fire and Police Academy as a school board member for Natomas Unified. And it was, I was almost like a proud parent watching two of our Intercom public safety students speak here today for their program. I have known Officer Frank Lay since he came into Intercom, and Officer Velasquez that runs the Sac City program was an SRO officer for Natomas Unified. Those two officers are the face of what we want our Sacramento Police Department to be. They are the future for our creating relationships and for the kids and getting that buy-in. That public safety is for everyone, and it's not tainted, as some in the community want to say. So that's a hill I'm going to die on keeping those programs because of what it does to pay it forward in our community and what it does for the students that take those classes. I'm on board keeping the ride free at the $250,000 level. The benefit, again, it has for our kids, and knowing that we now have school district buy-in, I think is really important. Fuel Network does amazing stuff because it is for our community here, especially in light of what we're seeing with the federal administration and the smashing of our constitutional rights and civil liberties. It's important that we as the city of Sacramento continue to stand up as a sanctuary city. That's all I got from now, but I just wanted to give you an overview of what I thought was appropriate. But thank you so much for all that you guys have done.
Yes, Councilmember Bain.
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to make some comments and provide some of my insight on the budget. I really want to thank Marthala, Pete, thank you, just city staff for working hard to present beginning workshop, and I want to thank our new city manager for bringing this item early to us so that we can begin conversations on priorities. And definitely want to take a moment to also thank all the public speakers that came today. I have a few comments in particular and wanted to provide some direction on just a few modification follow-up for next conversations on budget. In particular, first I want to start off with just some of the positive. I want to uplift items that is in the budget that we are protecting. It's really great to see that we are continuing to fund the Field Network. I want to give a shout out to Mayor Pro Tem Eric Guerra, who has led this effort in particular. And now more than ever, it is incredibly important that we continue to support many of our immigrants and refugees, many whom, as you heard from Mayor Pro Tem, who are our neighbors, who contribute to our tax base, but also because we have residents that live in fear, and it's important that we have the resources ready in the community to support them. Secondly, I also want to uplift the Ride SAC RT as well. I know this program started in 2019, and it's been an incredible program for our youth in our city. In previous years, it's been proposed to be eliminated in previous budget, but it's really great to see that it is still in the budget. And I still, am a strong believer that the city of Sacramento needs to also do our fair share. Yes, it's great that we have school districts participating in the Ride Free RT. But what I will also say as well is that we have to continue to support it on the city end because I see it as a core city service. One, I just want to note that not all our young people actually attend our public neighborhood schools, right? We have low-income youth attending vocational schools or other schools that do not attend our public school that are participating in the SAC Ride RT. Secondly, our students just doesn't use SAC RT just for school. They actually use it to go to work. And so this is also a component of workforce training as well. I see it as violence prevention strategy because as we're gearing up for the summer, young people need to be able to access transportation for work and summer programming. So really glad to see that that's in there. And I also want to share that 75% of youth ridership actually occurs within the city of Sacramento. So just really great to see that that's still in the budget. As we move forward on conversation, city manager, just a few things I want to highlight to bring back as departments come and present. Again, for me, I think it's really important to make sure that we budget we have a budget that center our city services and that we continue to protect programs that really invest in working families and our most vulnerable neighborhoods and families. I want to echo Councilwoman Katie Maple in terms of making sure we truly have a racial equity lens as we are discussing the trade-offs and the implications for our families. And we shouldn't be balancing this budget on the backs of low-income families and our youth, because oftentimes that is what we see happen. In particular, I want to better understand if there were lessons learned from programs that we implemented last year. So, for example, we had cut some services for youth and senior programs, and YPSI had offered scholarships to fill in those gaps, right? I would love for us to understand if that worked, especially because we are going to be having conversation about trade-offs in terms of services, hours. I want to know, what lessons did we learn from these, what we did last year to really protect our most vulnerable seniors and our youth, and did it work? We had these scholarships, but did it work? Did it not? How can we pivot? I think that would be really great to have that when YPSI comes forth to talk about that, or what support they need from the mayor and council. That would be really great. I also want to just flag our diversity, equity, inclusion staffing. This continues to remain a top priority for me. We have passed the racial equity resolution. We are now in the process of implementing this work with community and care holders. We have a draft scope of work that we just discussed earlier at the 11 o'clock meeting, a roadmap to create the racial equity plan. And we have only 3 city staff that is operationalizing this work, that is beginning to implement this work with our community. And if I saw that one of the position may be eliminated, and we only have 3 staff in this office, and so I would urge my colleagues to make a request and to make sure that this position stays within the budget. For us to do this work, to build capacity within our city staff, and to make sure that we're budgeting, we're resourcing, we're operationalizing across our city departments. We're going to need those staff to help do that work. And so that is my ask to this council to consider as we're continuing conversations on trade-offs. And then lastly, on public safety, I know last year we were able to avoid cutting actually any field position. And this year, what could be on the table are potentially cutting positions. Last year, I requested for us to have an audit of vacancies in PD. And I believe the chair said he would consider this in the budget and audit committee. And it was great to hear Councilmember Roger Dickinson mention this in his comment as well, to kind of do a deeper dive around the vacancies as well. So it's really great to hear that. I believe our city auditor is presenting a potential scope of work that's coming to budget and audit. I think this is really important as we consider how we address the vacancy. Councilwoman Kaplan just talked about perhaps freezing some of these vacancies, right? But I would say before we do any of that, we really need to have a deeper understanding of these vacancies. And so just wanted to recenter that because that was an ask that I made last year during budget to consider analyzing those vacancies so that we could be better informed on whether we eliminate these positions, whether there are other strategies that my colleagues mentioned. So just wanted to also pin this item as well. And those are all my comments on the budget, and I look forward to the continued conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Vang, and I think it's a great idea for the YPC for the scholarship program to see how it was utilized, especially as we consider parks through an equity lens. So good idea. Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask the city manager and maybe also our colleagues to take some caution here on the trade-off on public safety, because one, over the weekend we had a number of great Lunar New Year celebrations, and what I heard a lot from our business owners who own along Stockton Boulevard, how improving public safety has increased the confidence in people to invest and build out Stockton Boulevard, and we see a lot of success in that. And then we had the incident that happened in Joko here most recently, and so I want to caution that balance here, because if one, we don't have the confidence for people to come and visit downtown for tourism, that's a problem. That's a sales tax problem as well, not only just a safety issue, but second, the long-term issue. We noticed that our property tax revenues are the most stable revenue part. We still have vacancies in our core here, places that are boarded up, and some of it has to do with how they feel about the security. So I think we have to make sure that we're balancing that. And I know that our downtown partnership had just also, they themselves said, we want to be part of this, and they with their own resources are stepping up with that combination. So I do think we need to have that. There's these trade-offs here, and I appreciate that the business community said that they want to step up and do more of their part as well as necessary. But we have to make sure that we recognize that trade-off is also critical. And I've seen it in my own district on Stockton Boulevard, the benefit of being able to have an extra just bike officer when we've had it out there. They engage more with the business owners, many of them who English is their second language, and being able to engage with them. So I do appreciate that work. But I wanted to put that on the table, city manager, make sure that it isn't just one or the other. Like, it has a direct effect in our both sales tax and property tax revenue generation. So.
Yeah, through the Vice Mayor, I want to address a couple of items that a couple of you spoke on. So the Councilmember Vang, I did have those specific conversations with the director of YPC, and we're going to bring those scenarios. We're going to let you know how the programs work. So if we're proposing it or it came up as one of the ideas, we're going to provide some context and some additional information. Councilmember Kaplan, as it relates to the forensic audit, I have been talking to our auditor about looking at, it's going to be part of her work plan. We don't have time to do a zero-based budgeting exercise. It is my understanding that we've performed some forensic audits in the past, so I want to look at what those produce, and then I can work with our city auditor and determine how we move forward with that. So while she will be bringing her work plan forward, we may make some adjustments based off of some of the audits that we've done in the past. And to police, I completely understand what you're saying about there is a trade-off. I do have a concern with having less than 600 police officers here in the city. The incident that we had last night is a perfect example of why we need more police officers. But I'm going to honestly say police will be touched. We will look at vacancies, what that looks like. So to your point, Councilmember Dickinson, we will look at the vacancies and how we can make certain that, there are no bodies going home, but how we can, just either freeze or remove those vacancies. It's going to be tough, right? When we talk about people losing their livelihood, this is not an easy decision. which is why when I work with the mayor to talk about, hey, let's bring this forward early, we can have these discussions. Because behind the scenes, myself, the finance team, and the assistant city managers, we're responsible for giving those notices to employees, and it makes it really difficult to sleep at night when you know that these are decisions that you have to make moving forward. And we want to try not to make those decisions. We want to have the less impact on our employees because they're the ones doing the work. So we welcome all feedback. There will be trade-offs. I'll caution you, priorities are public safety, homelessness. I want to commend the DCR team. We have made some changes to how we're addressing homelessness. We're making certain that we're getting out there early, making certain we're cleaning up the streets, but also making certain we're having a compassionate approach on how we're addressing the individuals who are out there as well. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the mayor for allowing me to bring this forward in his direction. I do want to circle back with Pete and his team to see if you have all the direction that you need moving forward.
Yes, we've noted the follow-up items, and we'll be bringing them forward either as part of the presentations or supplemental budget information items, which we'll put in the staff reports.
Yeah, and I will let you know the presentations are already baked. So these are some of the things that proposals will work on the back end of it, but we'll still proceed with some of the discussions and the PowerPoints that the divisions have already produced.
Thank you so much, City Manager, for the update and for listening to us here on the dais. Looking forward to working with you and the team on this. And, to the members of the public, the list that was published on the City Council website is a list and a menu of options. We're not going to pursue all of them. They are all options. And every single department, including our charter officers, put in some recommendations into 50% budget cuts. But we're going to work through this together and achieve something to make sure that we have a balanced budget here in the city of Sacramento. Okay. No public comment. Well, we did public comment on this. So informational items, none. Council comments, questions, ideas, AB 1, 2, 3, 4 reports. Seeing none. All right. Public comments on matters not on the agenda?
Yes, I have two public speakers, Lambert and Henry Harry.
I'm very impressed by the rostrum today. Very impressed. You're going to have to make tremendous decisions, and as long as you consider the auditor and some of this guy Pete and this other lady outstanding, I mean, you're going to have to look at this thing. And another thing, you're going to have to consider what type of cuts you're going to have to take as a rostrum. Why should you get a raise? If everybody's got to take a cut, take a cut. And I'm also challenging because the millennials took us viral globally. That's something you shouldn't take lightly. They took our cheesecakes viral globally. And I didn't know what they meant until they showed me an email recently where I've been invited to attend a global summit outside the country. Now, I'm not going to travel that way. The millennials, they're fighting to want to go. I'd rather them go. I've traveled all over. I don't need to travel there. I met the people that were here during the Super Bowl. And I'm challenging my city councilman. We are what is considered a goose that can lay a golden egg. We come in scandal-free, A+ rated. We have a manufacturer in Southern California that has guaranteed that they can get out 1 million cheesecakes and 1 million carrot cakes of our mother's situation. That's instant job creation. And by the way, those two desserts are in demand year-round. They're not just in demand during the holidays. So I hope Mr. Dickerson reaches out to us. He knows what we're doing. And my parents voted for him. So do the right thing. But great job by the gentleman.
Thank you, members of the council. I have some kind of bullet point things to touch on for you guys to consider as you're looking at the budget and into the future. One of these ideas is to use these empty storefronts, a lot of these big stores, using their parking lots as sleeping and resting areas for the homeless while converting the inside for cubicles, restrooms, and showers. This will hopefully give us an opportunity to get these people out of our parks. I mentioned today, earlier in one of the committee hearings on the racial equity, I talked about a Level 2 reserve program, which is a way that we can get some people into police uniforms, boots on the ground. It's going to take us a while to do it, but I think a lot of people would like to serve their city in a volunteer capacity when we see how bad things are. Next. I think there's an opportunity to approach people if you did something like this. Hey, we're going to do a one-time tax that only raises $15 million. When we raise that $15 million, we're going to put it into a fund that's exclusively for helping people into low-income housing, whether it's on the building side. Then we tack $5 onto these people's rents over the next 30 years, and that goes back to replenish that fund. I'd vote for that in a second if I knew that money wasn't going to go into one of your pockets on a raise or some other administrator was going to get it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. Create a fund, we'll fund it, leave it in there, and use it for that purpose and that purpose only. This is an issue that keeps me up at night, and I'm running out of time, so I'll try this quickly. I think we're updating our sanctuary policy. Is there any language in there that is going to allow that to be the platform to move money into this arena under the word support? Because support is in that paperwork continuously.
Thank you for your comment. Your time is complete. Vice Mayor, I have no more speakers.
This meeting's adjourned at 4:33. See you at 5. Yeah, not too far.